I'm your host, Charise Beckett, and
I am your host, Mark Thompson.
how are you?
If you focus on what you did in the past,
To lead, transform, and shine.
this is a great collaboration. Career Transformation Academy and Queens Behind the Scenes. Martin Thompson, Charise Beckett, about to tear it up.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Corporately Speaking, where we pull back the curtain on corporate America and have the conversations that need to be had. I am your host from Career Transformation Academy, now with Corporately Speaking, Mark Thompson, and we have the awesome and amazing
Charise Beckett from Queens Behind the Scenes. How's it going?
It's going great. How about yourself?
I mean, a girl was down bad. Your girl was down bad this week, but I'm back in full effect.
Look, I love that I work from home because I stay inside. I don't mess with people. I don't mess with sickness
It's
and
me and
kids.
It's me in the public. My husband was like, let's see you and your 3 gyms and the metro. I was like, true. Yep, that is it. So have you ever been told to bring your whole self to work?
No, but yes. But
That's a
no.
lie.
What do you mean?
Well, we'll get to we're family at a later date, but we're family, but
Right.
code switching, so basically people tell you to bring your whole self to work, right? And then, and then you're coached on how to kind of fit in, right? And that would be code switching. So why don't you, Mr. Thompson, tell us what code switching actually is?
Well, that is a great subject, great topic. And I'm going to give it to you in 2 different ways. There's a corporate way of thinking what code switching is, and then there is the African American way
Of what code switching is?
of code switching is. So for those who don't know what code switching is, it is really, I want to say not, and this is my opinion as well. I can go off the definitions here, but really when you're just adjusting your speech, your appearance, your mannerisms, you're coming to work and you're actually putting on a suit of someone else. And maybe, I think this happens a lot when people have to change their hair, they have to change their clothes, and you come to work to have a different presence. So people see you and they say, oh, you represent something that I could trust and I feel comfortable with. And I'm okay with that. And that's how you have to be in order for people to actually have a professional conversation with you. Your voice changes. So when we say voice, it means I have on what sometimes we say our Caucasian voice, where we talk, clearly and deeply. No, and I'm not really saying that we have to do it, because people need to understand what we're saying and things of that nature. And then as soon as you get off work, it's like, oh, I want to take this off. And once I take it off, I'm like, man, you know what? They was going crazy. All of the country, all of the swag comes back. It's like, man, I had to put this suit on. And I'm gonna tell you, the worst place that's ever happened for me is when I go on visits, or I have to go to company conferences in the entire time, because a lot of times people don't recognize when you're a manager or you're in an executive space, you may be the only Black person there. No one there can connect with you.
Looks like you, has the same lived experience.
None of
the things. And that's where it is, like, right? And I even look at code switching. I'm going to take it a step further. I even look at code switching. It's 2 things. I look at code switching also as like hair, for sure, for women.
Yes.
But men too, when my son is 24, he'll be 25 this year. When he was graduating from college from Old Dominion University, he interned in the political space, but when he was starting to apply for jobs, he was applying for corporate jobs. And so the political space was a little bit different, because because of what his political affiliation was. He felt very comfortable. He was campaigning for a Black man. He felt very comfortable being himself. As soon as he had to start outside of his comfort zone, he came to me. He had locks. And he came to me and he was like, Mom, I think I'm going to cut my locks. And I was like, why? Because I am of the thought process, and we may be different or think differently. Number one, I do believe that code switching is necessary in some ways, because I'm not going to go to work and just be who there's a difference between work and home. And I want to make that distinction. Okay. So to me, that is important to make the distinction.
Right.
But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going, as I sit here with straight hair, but I wear braids to work.
Yeah.
I wear whatever hairstyle I want to wear to work. Now, am I going to look unkept? No. That is different than wearing my hair naturally. And that's what I was trying to tell my son. But he really had the idea that, no, I'm going to just cut it. I'm going to just, I'm going to cut my hair. I said, so what you gonna do when you want it back? Like they didn't interview that person. Like, what are you gonna? So he has locks now. He still works at his place and he has locks now. He grew them back. And I was like, well, why? What's the difference now that you're working there and you have them back? And like, what's the difference? And he was like, well, I already got the job now. And I'm like, okay.
Right.
I mean, to me, that's like, okay, like, I'm not going, and I told him I don't agree with that. Like, I do not agree with that, especially with hair. Now, I do agree that we need to compartmentalize parts of our life. Your work is your work. Your house is your house. Your friends are your friends. Your coworkers are your coworkers. Like, that is something I do. And I do not share my social media life unless it's like Queens behind the scenes or corporately speaking. But like outside of that, I'm not on social media with people from work. I don't want them in my personal business because you are a colleague. You are not my friend. You are not my friend.
This is important to understand that code switching does not apply to work. It's in every piece of your life.
The bank,
what I call it,
go get a loan.
Yes. Yeah. Right. The bank, your friends, your different colleagues, your church group. I mean, it's not that I'm being double-sided. It's just that I can't have the same conversations I have with you that I may have with my best friend of 30 years. I can't kick it with you the same way. I can't build with somebody that you can't have access to my social or my private life. That's for family. So yeah, and this, I think all of this boils into, I don't know if we gave the topic and title of it, but I know we're going to go to the next topic as well. So this episode title is Code Switching and Executive Presence, the Authenticity Dilemma in Corporate America. And I think this is a good time to talk about this on what is executive presence. And I think both of them make sense together. You're an executive.
Lord.
You're an executive. This is a great question for you because you deal with this day in, day out. You had to go up the mountaintop and look at Jericho on the other side and be like, yes, I have made it.
Well, that is so funny. So for me, executive presence, what they say it means is the unspoken standard for looking, speaking, and acting like a leader. Who defines it and why does it often mean assimilating to the dominant corporate norms? That is a question because the way I'm showing up on here is really the way I show up at work. I mean, I am very authentically me because it is very hard for me to be somebody else. However, when I am at work, the topics of things I'm talking about at work are going to be a little bit different than when I'm kicking it with my husband or I'm kicking it with my kids or I'm kicking it with my friends. So when I'm talking about work, I'm talking about strategy and I'm talking about, work related topics, talent and my staff and whatever. But like, I still talk about some of those things when I come home from work with my husband, but the way I talk about him to him is a whole different way that I talk about him at work, right? So it's a whole different, two different ways. Also, I look at executive presence and I think this goes to being a Black person. I am always going to come to work and be dressed. Look, I'm coming to work. I'm going to look sickening every day. Okay. There's not going to be a time where you're going to catch me slipping. Like, no, I am going to come to work. So already I think sometimes Black people already step into it and we already got the dress down. Like, cause that's just, we are going to dress, hair done, nails done, period. Right.
Everything.
And so everything, yes, in order, neat and clean and everything. So, you don't always find that outside of our culture. Cause I see people come to work look any kind of way sometimes.
Right.
And it don't usually be us. And so what I found is we have so much pride in who we are as Black people that we love that part of us, our swagger, our style is a part of our culture. And so for us, the executive presence and walking in, we generally are going to look the part up front. But when you open your mouth, or you cut the open in the mouth part, but also how you carry yourself. And I just talked about personal brand on Queens Behind the Scenes. What is your personal brand? I think that goes into your executive presence. What do people know you for? Are you reliable? Are you this? Are you that? Are you a steady Eddie? You just come to work, you go home, you get paid. You know what I mean? Like what is your brand? And I think that also is built into your executive presence. My brand is I'm going to come to work looking fly. I'm going to have my hair done. My nails will always be done. And I know the biggest thing about that is I am an expert at what I do, and I know that. So I'm going to not only look the part, but I'm going to come in there and I'm going to knock your socks off because I'm going to be the expert about what I do.
Right.
And so I think that's also a part of executive presence. Now, people fake it till they make it all the time. I don't know about, I don't do that. You know, I don't do that. I don't do that because I don't ever think it's faking it. Like I always dress nice. I dress for what I wanted, not where I was. And so I think that for me was like, this is my executive presence going to carry me through my whole career. And this is who I'm going to be. But I do think that like, and I said this to somebody, and I want to hear your perspective about this because I said this to somebody, and just hear me out. I said this because what happens when people say, well, that's not professional, or you don't have executive presence. Why is that always like, who made the rule of what's professional and what's executive presence? Like who made these rules? And why is it that we have to assimilate to the majority all the time to be right? What I feel like is when I hear somebody saying, and I will say this, and I'm going to probably get some backlash and whatever. I think that when we look at executive presence and we talk about professionalism, it is rooted in supremacy. And I'm going to say it because I firmly believe that to be the case. So what is your thoughts? Who you so?
Yeah, you went, you just, you know, when somebody say, hey, we're going to jump on 3. No, you just went on 1. I'm like, oh, wait, you jump. I guess I'm going to jump in with you. So, man, I mean, if we, maybe it may not be, I guess in my thoughts as I'm thinking about it, it is probably the grand scheme of what is considered right that most majority white people think is right or think is the proper way. And we've kind of adjusted and assimilated to that only because that's what was acceptable to get us further in the chain. Yeah, to get a job. Like, so, you know, if you really look at it all together, because like you said, we have our own way of having swagger, but it has traditionally gone, if you have a minority owned company, they're going to say what professionalism is too. They may let you slide on a few things. You may get to wear your hair. Like I got to pick this out for interviews. I can't leave my joint all twisted. But
see, and I'm like, leave it like that. I love it.
I just started doing it, so I'm trying to get familiar with it myself. Like, hey, you know.
He said I'm trying to get familiar with it.
But once I bust into the room and they go, you know, so no, it's a great topic. It is rooted. I think it comes back from that. And if we go way back, think about it. How do we even come to work? Even back, you know, when our grandparents and parents came to show up, like they wore suits on a daily basis. That was professional.
Yes. I mean, because that's how it was. Like definitely everybody was dressing like they worked at a bank with pantyhose and the whole 9 yards. I mean, things have definitely changed. But what I want to pluck you on this because I can't get over it because the Black culture is always something that is stolen, imitated, everything. How is it that it is everything to be cool is Black culture? We are the standard of coolness. Yeah. We are the standard period of being cool. However, how is it that when we step in places where we talking about making money and making business decisions, we assimilate to something else that is not correlate with who we are? Don't understand. Like, I just don't get that. And I'm asking you because it bothers me.
Yeah. I mean, I just talked to my buddy about that today a little bit. And I think this is one of those things where we're getting so involved in solitude And I brought this up to us because, social media is separating us, right? And as it's separating us, we're also getting more comfortable with being by ourselves. Like, I'm trying to date. I'm a single man out there. And, well, not anymore. I guess I got a girlfriend.
Yeah, you got a boo, don't you?
I got me, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, but when you look at society, it's separating us so much that we don't care about other people's struggles anymore. We don't unite as much anymore. We don't even think about what is out there. So we're losing our identity. We're losing our structure, and people are stealing our ideas. They're stealing our swag, and then we don't care about it. After it happens, it just moves on. And we're like, well, next thing. And I'm like, no.
Kardashians. And listen, and Kim is my girl. I love me some Kim Kardashian. And the reason I do, she is a great businesswoman.
Right.
She really is. And I didn't really love the way Kanye was harassing her, but I did not. But I like her as a businesswoman, but they are another family that are culturally ambiguous, right? Like the cultural ambiguity is something that is real. So they're culturally ambiguous. Everything we do, braids, the whole 9 yards, they are going to do it, which, okay, you know what? You got Black kids. You appreciate our culture. But what I don't see is giving credit where credit is due. And I just don't really like that about it.
And we're not the people. I mean, they've been doing this since the beginning of time. Everything has been stolen. I mean, jazz to music to fashion to hair to buildings. Like, there's so much. When you look at Black History Month, I get wowed every year about the things that we created that I did not know existed that exist for the world. I'm like, we did
we did that. I know.
We made ice cream. We made refrigerators. We made peanut butter. Like
all the things.
Everything that's probably changed this world, and more so America by itself. And I know we're going into this topic, but it's Black History Month, so let's go into it, right? But
let's do it.
We are an incredible group of people who are doing great things, and I think this is the great conversation I had today. I think we are suffering so much as individuals because we won't come together as a collective that our kids are going to feel this and they're going to be lost. And that's what scares me the most. I'm teaching my child how to be a respectable young lady. And when she grows up and gets older, she's going to face the opposition because everybody else is going to be on the other side trying to be somebody they're not, which goes into being not authentic and not being the person you should be and not being whole and not being respected and not being able to wear your hair like you want to because you're trying to fit in. That's the problem I see.
Yeah, but for me, I just feel like when we are ourselves, we are so much more creative and we can contribute so much more as opposed to having to switch is mentally exhausting. It's emotional labor that you carry. And when you're constantly adjusting who you are, do I say it's necessary? Mm-hmm. Yes, in some cases, but I'm trying to find a way where it's not necessary, where we can just be who we are. So let's move into this contradiction of
Go ahead. Let me add this, because this is something that is powerful, because I think it's important to understand when you do want to be yourself, then you need to be your own boss. Black people are made to be their own bosses. So if you want to be, if you want to be everything you want to be authentically, because this is how we're talking about code switching and executive presence, because you're going to have to do something in order to fit some type of mold and try to be yourself at the same time. And that's what we're talking about now. Bringing yourself.
That is so true. But I do like that you said that. I'm glad that you plucked that thread because it is true. Yeah. I mean, there is a corporate hypocrisy where companies are claiming that they value authenticity, but they still expect professionals to fit a mold, right? Mm-hmm. These common contradictions. I'm going to list them for you. Be yourself, but also be polished. Well, first of all, my real self is polished, so I ain't got to worry about it. We value diversity, but leadership all looks exactly the same. We encourage authenticity, but professionalism has a very narrow definition. And that's what I was trying to say earlier. Who says what's professional? This narrow, this is professional because you said it's professional, this little lane right here. And because I'm a little outside the lane, I'm professional because I had an incident where somebody said, I'm going to give him some dap at work. And then this other person was like, I mean, what does that even mean? I think that we're in a professional environment. I just think that we should all be talking professionally. Well, who the hell are you?
Right.
To be telling somebody. first of all, dap is like a normal word. That's basically in the corporate environment now. Because I mean, everybody give everybody dap, you know.
Well, you know, it came from Vietnam. It means something.
Right, right, it does. But I'm just like, how is it that this professionalism is this narrow? Like, who narrowed the definition?
You know what? I just looked up something real quick, and I want to try to go into this about bringing yourself to work, because I wanted to ask you earlier, and I think it's important when we think about code switching. It is valuable. As much as we do want to be authentic to ourselves, it is valuable. And this is a statistic that I just read right here.
Okay, bring the data.
It said code switching. It says studies have found that African Americans who engage in code switching in professional settings report 20 to 25% higher rates of successful job interviews and promotions compared to those who don't. And that's that issue that it's like, man, you really can't be yourself at work.
But also, we're about to have a friendly debate, because I also think with I come to work now. Listen, I do agree. I do believe that because I'm at a different level. So I'm talking.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
So that is another thing, because I actually, in my job, I literally told my boss when I was interviewing for this job. Now, I don't know, had I been interviewing for a lower level job or like a junior level job or an early professional, if I said this, if it would have been taken as seriously. But I said, listen, this is what I said. I said, I am a Black woman, and right now my boss is a Black woman. I am coming and I work for a place that I am respected and I have a good reputation. Do not bring me here and mistreat me.
Right.
And I said it just like that. Do not bring me here and mistreat me. And so I got the job. I mean, I'm happily got the job, and I'm happy and I'm thriving and I love where I work. Right. But I had to say that because I'm like, like, don't bring me from an environment where, maybe it's less money, or maybe it's, you don't get bonuses here, and maybe it's for, nonprofit or whatever. But I am happy and I am learning, and I am, I am in a space where people respect me. Don't let me leave this environment for me to come somewhere and for you to be intimidated by my knowledge or, whatever. Do not bring me here and act a fool was my biggest thing. Do not bring me. And I said that. Now, had I said that, that is a Charise for real. Like, me saying that is completely authentic to who I am. Right. But had I said that 12 years ago, would it have come off the same? I might not be right. It wouldn't have, would it? I mean, do you think there's a difference?
Well, I'm seeing right now that, I think we talked about that in the last podcast, and it kind of boils down to the manager. I think you get lucky, and that's where the hypocrisy lies, because like at several companies I've had, they're like, come as you are. Like you said, they have all these things about you being authentic. Wear your hair.
Come as you are, like it's church.
Like you're in church. Come as you are. You got purple hair.
Come as you are.
If you got purple hair, you got green hair, if you're trans, we love it. Just be who you are, be your authentic self. And then you get to that interview and you are your authentic self. And that person that interview you is not comfortable with who you are, then you're not going to get the job, or you're not even going to get promoted. So that hypocrisy lies in the people's mindsets of who are your managers. And that's where I believe a lot of the training in these corporate companies have to dive into, because you have to train and do it over and over. And they got to pass the test, or you got, like you said, we talked about before, you got to punish people for not believing it. Because, okay, if you're bringing everybody in that's comfortable to you and you have no diversity and you're wondering why you still have a stagnant, lazy workforce, or you haven't moved the needle.
Sales aren't great, or
Exactly. You don't have that. And again, we're not talking about just Black people. We're talking about Indians. We're talking about Hispanics. We're talking about Asians. Having a diverse workforce is always proven that. We're even talking about women. We're also talking about elderly. We're talking about handicap. We're talking about people with diseases. Everything that not diseases or things like that.
You said diseases. I was like, I was with you. I was like, okay, I don't know where we're headed with you.
Yeah, no, not that. Okay, take that off the bed.
You said diseases. I was like,
because that's all of us. We all gonna discriminate. Like, what you got? You got?
Yeah, because you remember when people were saying they had COVID. Listen, we was like, no.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, boiling down to that manager, I think that breaks that, because again, I know if I show up, and this is another stat too, that I was like, wow. So 48% of Black professionals reported feeling the need to code switch at work for a career advancement. So even when we get the job, it's like, I still have to, that was awesome. Great. You know, you got to have that laugh. You got to have, you got to have that laugh. If you don't have that a part of your code switching laughs, yeah, because you know how Black folks, if we laugh, we take off running. We're going to slap
smacking
you,
people.
smacking tables.
This is so funny. My sister-in-law, literally, me and one of my best friends, I have two besties, and one of them, well, both of them were at my daughter's wedding. And then we had my daughter got married at the end of October. And so we had, since my family wasn't going to be together for Thanksgiving, we had, after the day after the wedding, we had a big meal, like a Thanksgiving meal. And my husband and I had rented this like big old house and everything. My sister-in-law, me and my girlfriend was sitting there and we busted out laughing. You know, one went one way, the other way. She was like, here they go laughing and running.
Yeah.
We got to run.
Yeah. And don't let us have the same brainwave so we can just look at each other and laugh. Oh, it's over. It's over. I love us.
I do too. This my favorite thing is being Black, honestly. Because I'm like, we are so creative. We're so great. And that's why this is my point about code switching. Why are we so cool? What happens when it comes into this place of business? Why is it everything else? Sports, we dominate. Entertainment, we dominate. People gonna steal your vernacular. People gonna take your this and that. Why is it our shit? Stuff is always cool.
Right.
Our stuff is always cool until it's time to make. I don't know. Well, people make money off of it, but it's almost like it's cool until I gotta why do I have to adapt if I'm already if I'm already cool, if everything's already gravy?
It's cool. Why do I have to do that? Until you have power. Once you get any type of power, it's like, no, we need you to go back to entertaining. I need you to go back to making me smile and making me laugh. I'll pay you for that. But if you want to control something, nah, I can't do that. I can't put you in that position. I can't help you lead something that I feel like is something we own. And that's the thing about it. That sucks, right? That's what
the way you said it, it deflated me. I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's when it comes down to it. It is the hypocrisy around corporate hierarchy and that's power. People automatically feel less than if they see somebody that's not like them above them or even equal with them. Like, there's been opportunities for me where I'm in the room and I just so happen to be the smartest person in the room. But guess what? This happens with anybody. This is a natural thing. People get defensive if you're smarter than them.
Oh my God. Or you know more than them about a subject.
Yes. They will attack. They will either lessen your comment or find a way to prove you wrong so you are less than them. And this it always goes around to taking your shine away. Yeah, exactly. So instead of saying congratulating and being in that posture, nobody trained. It's actually a natural behavior that people do. So whatever, it doesn't matter what color you are, but primarily for us, it's going to happen to us more often than anything. And it's like, if I'm a subject matter expert in this area and I tell you how this looks for the future and beyond, and you say, no. And I'm like, well, I got data to prove it. You're like, you still don't know. It's like, wow, that much? So yeah.
But you know, it's funny because I also look at this another way too, is that does happen, but it's funny how I was just thinking about this. It goes into the same thought process of, have you ever seen where you know something, you're at work and you know something, and you say what you know, but then they hire a consultant that says the same thing, but they take the consultant more. I've been through that. It's the same thing, right? Though, it's the same thing. You're like, well, wait a minute, I've been telling y'all that for 6 months.
You just brought a whole consultant in to confirm what I told y'all. So now our budget is higher and over budgeted because we got to pay them. Because we had to get Grant Thornton or one of these professional service people up in here to tell y'all the same thing I said. Right. That's man, you just brought back PTSD right there.
It is, because it's when I said it, I saw your face like, because that is what happened. But it's almost like the same kind of thing though. Like, I say it, I'm the subject matter expert. Why are you not just taking what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying don't validate what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is you bringing a whole daggone other person in here and paying them. I know a lot of, professional service companies are not PwC, Deloitte. None of them are cheap.
Deloitte. No.
None of them are cheap. So you're bringing these companies in to tell you the same thing that I just told you for 6 months and paying them an astronomical amount of money.
Every company the same exact thing. So they get, I need to do what they're doing. Anyway, you're right. You're so right. You're so right.
I mean, yeah, it's the same thing. But like, how do we navigate the workplace with authenticity because you want to be able to be some of yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like so knowing when and how to code switch if you chose to, when it's a strategic move versus when it's self-betrayal. Like that is hard. Like people think, like one of the things that I said about working for an organization that didn't have any Black people in the C-suite, I was like, that makes me feel like a sellout.
It does. Oh, wow. Yeah.
That makes me feel like a sellout. Like, and listen, and I tell you why, because why would I be attracted to a place like that? But on the flip side, if it's really somewhere you want to work, is it self-betrayal? Like how do you navigate that? And I don't know that I have the answers. I work through those things as well.
I don't, and I've had the similar thing. And for me, it was one time when I finally became a manager, and becoming a manager means you stepped into a space of leadership. When I looked at that, I was like, wow, I'm the only Black guy here, and everybody on my team is Black, but nobody else has any Black professionals on their team. That made me go like, oh yeah, I look like an overseer now. Yeah, I only have Black professionals under me that I'm trying to get into a workforce of diversity, but doesn't have diversity. So now they have to trust my word to promote somebody. They're like, you go ahead and maintain the niggers over there. I mean, I'm just saying, when you get to that space, I realize like, dang, I feel accomplished. At the same time, I'm looking back and I only have all the Black people in the entire company. Not all the entire company, but a good portion of the organization.
And it's almost like that's also because it probably felt good for those people to have you, but then it's also like, well, do y'all not think I can manage anybody else but Black people? So that's how I would be thinking. Or do you think that they can't be managed by somebody else other than a Black person? Like I would be thinking all kinds of stuff with that, because that is like, I mean, and that's not diversity.
Right. It's not. And this is where I stepped into, I think, more of how I could navigate myself more authentically, because during that time, you got George Floyd stuff going on. And I said, you know what? I'm inviting my leaders to my meetings because they need to hear us talk about these subjects and topics that are impactful to African Americans. I'm creating a source of, here we are, come to these meetings. You're invited. We're an open book, but also now they see me as a leader. They see my voice. They see that I'm a Black man that's trying to do the right things. And after that time, I had been there 15, 14 years. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be. And it's not that it took me that long to get there. It just saw that there was to me, it was the impact that I was providing for this company that started making me think I need to do more. Mm-hmm. And that's how I'm going to show up to be more authentic. This is how I'm going to show up to actually not prove anything, but it is my duty as a leader to show these Black folks that you can be here too, but you don't have to change who you are. And let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's that how to maintain that self-identity while navigating the corporate spaces and building executive presence on your terms. That's that's what I decided to do. I decided to say, I'm an executive. I'm going to have executive presence, but it's going to be on my terms. It's going to be how I want it to look. My professionalism is going to be defined by me, not by somebody else. Now, you can choose to hire me or not hire me, right? Like, but I am going to be who I am and my authentic self. Now, my authentic work self, because this is not my home.
Right.
So my authentic work self, and that to me has been, I think, has made me feel that I have not had to conform completely, is having versions of me that are authentic to me, but are still okay for the workplace. So like I am
Right.
going to be authentically me, but I'm also going to be workplace authentic Charise, home authentic Charise. You
Right.
have to, it's
Right.
situational how you approach things, but you still can be yourself. And so redefining that professionalism and leadership in a way that includes diverse identities where
Yeah.
we're able to say like, oh, that's dope or that's cool. And like, it's not like,
Yes.
oh my God, you do drugs. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
One of my things is cool deal. Or I'll be like, cool, that's what's up. And like, I actually say that just so they can get, I'm saying it and I'm going to be, and I don't even say best regards. Thank you. I say best. That is my slang for corporate America in a sentence. When I sign out, I just say, I'm trying to make this popular. Best. That's it. That's all you get it from me. I don't even know if that's proper, but it seems cool. But here's the other thing about that. I think when you're doing that in a leadership position, I don't start high up. I start low first. I want to buy in from my team to trust me in that space. Whether I've definitely had multi-diverse teams as I've gone up in my career. But I start with them. I want them to like me for who I am and build through that. 'Cause guess what? When they go talk to my leaders or they have those ask me anythings and stuff like that, they shout me from the mountaintop. Mark is cool. Mark is great. Mark is a great leader.
Yep.
Mark is somebody I'll fight for. They'll go to bat for me because of that. And then as we get into the corporate settings, when I get with those HR leadership meetings, and you get in there with the folks that that you had to kind of show that your own colleagues will stab you in the back. I'll tell you that.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I still try to connect with them as best as I can. But they are definitely the people you have to only give probably maybe 10% of your stuff. And this is where, let me tell you this statistic, because this is what I feel. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. 89% of Black professionals reporting experience emotional exhausting from code switching in professional environments. And I agree.
Yes.
I've been exhausted.
Yes. I am tired. I mean, you get tired. Well, you get tired because you're like, I think it's tiring because you're becoming different people. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Like that's exhausting, and I can't, I was listening to somebody, this is a long time ago, a woman who was in a situation where she worked with this person. She didn't really care for them. And we don't care for a lot of people we work with most of the time, right? Like you're like, oh, they would never be people I would hang out with in the real world. But you can't treat them.
Right.
I mean, when I don't like people, I don't even know that I dislike anybody. And I've just thought about it. I was like, I don't dislike anyone.
Hey.
Now I might dislike your ways, but I don't really have a dislike. But when I don't fool with somebody in real life, I just don't fool with you. I don't talk about you. There's nothing. So I kind of try to do that at work too, but you can't like ignore coworkers because you got to collaborate to get things done. So like, how do you stay authentic in that way? Right. Like where you're like, I just think that it's a scam. The whole thing, I think it's a scam because how is it that it just doesn't make sense? It's like, you want my original ideas. You want me to be authentic at work, but then I have to come and have this narrow version of myself that you see as worthy of the job. Like that is a scam.
It is. And it's, I mean, it could be, I don't even know the right words to say. I mean, it's almost like prison mentality. It's almost like Nazi type stuff. It goes back to so many ways. Let me control you. How can I control you? And if I don't accept these things from you, then I can control you because you have to be this way in order for me to feel comfortable about you delivering. And I can push you in a certain way. And if you do act out of that way, which is normal to everybody else in your family, especially for Black women can say, oh, you know what? Your attitude, oh, she has an attitude. I don't like that. It's like, no, she was just really responding the way she responds in real life.
And also, you going to get the energy you put out. Don't get smart and think that just because we at work, I'm not going to get smart back. That is the other thing. You going to get what the energy you put out is what you going to get back.
Let me tell you something. Black women are the scariest things in corporate America. And that is because we've all had Black mothers. But at the same time, it's the look and it's the feel. You love the people around you, but you don't play when it comes to certain things. And when somebody tests you, you got to think about it. You're going to protect your child, you protect your job, you protect your person. So when people get upset, like, wow, did you see how she came in? No, she didn't come at you. She protected herself because
I'm
you attacked
protecting
her.
me because you attacked me. So
Yeah.
right. And so I'm not going to say the main thing I always want, like, this is my biggest thing being a Black woman at work and having to, like, because a lot of times you are a person who somebody's talking to you like they don't have no damn sense. And then you have to be, my biggest question is, who are you talking to? Because I really need to understand who you think you're talking to.
Next time you be like, wait a minute, what's that? Like, what are you doing? Well, I'm trying to find out who you talking to.
Who you talking to? Right. I'm trying to figure out who you talking to. So that is always my question is, who are you talking to? Because I can't be me with that tone that you got. Because, and that's the thing is, not a lot of, another thing people, I was just talking to a colleague about this whole thing where you have to switch up, like somebody, say a boss or somebody comes and they're like, she's in a bad mood. I don't give a damn. I'm not here to make her in a good mood. This is work.
So, yeah, that's a good point because I talk about this a lot. I've never been the one to be like, that is our chief of staff or something. So when they come in, everybody behave. I'm sitting there like, no, they need to see how we really act. This is us. Why are we being different?
And they're a person too. Like they're a person. Yeah. I'm never giving anybody more power over me than necessary. And me saying things like, oh, y'all should straighten up when they come around. Well, why ain't you straighten up when I come around?
You know what's crazy? Exactly. And you know what's crazy about that? And now that you brought that up, I thought about that because I have been vocal and not afraid to say what I need to say. And I remember this is a real story. I was in a meeting with my old boss, two of my old bosses and my current boss with our actual VP at the time. And they wanted me to come in and give me some exposure about, making some changes for the future because we never had the budget for it before. Now we got an opportunity. They said, well, Mark, you present it. So when I came in there, you know what I said? I said, I have more experience than everybody in this room when it comes to this topic. That was my first sentence I said. And I said, I'm only saying that because I'm an expert. I've been here 12 years at the time, and I want to let you know why this is important, not only for myself, but the rest of my team. Boy, you talking about what?
They was probably like, what in the hell?
It was received. We didn't move anything, but again, that's when I started understanding more about my business acumen, about leaders, but I wasn't afraid to say that. Now, get in other rooms, it's like, yeah, we got a meeting, but I'm like, why did I get invited? Because I would have said my mind. I would have spoke my piece. Well, I was putting the real out.
That's why we aren't invited into a lot of these rooms, right? It's like they don't want to have to deal with that. Like,
yeah.
What I've noticed is like in most of those rooms, I don't want to be in anyway. People really think you want to be a part of these rooms that they're in. Listen, they treat y'all like shit. I'm not trying to be a part of that room. I don't want to be in there because number one, they're not going to treat me like that because I demand something that you don't, which is a level of respect that they going to pay attention to. Okay. So that's number one right there. There's never going to be a time where somebody's going to be at work talking to me like they're crazy and I'm not saying anything back or I'm just sitting there looking goofy. Absolutely not. Like that's just not happening. I'm a human being. You're not going to treat me like we're just not doing that. And like I said, there was a woman on Instagram today talking about these seats at these tables. I don't want your table and I don't want your seat. I want the land because it's mine.
Right.
I don't want your seat or your table.
Right.
Those are that's low. That's low to me. I don't want your seat at no table. I'm the CEO of life. I want more than that.
I want the opportunity because the opportunity doesn't actually have to stay here. It means everywhere.
Yeah, and you got a seat at the table and you're not even contributing anything. You looking around looking simple and goofy. Like, no, I want to be somewhere at a table or a room where the people actually value my expertise and we're moving business because of my expertise and us collaborating each one of our expertise. That's what I want.
Right.
So
I know we're trying to figure out what companies need to do. And I'm sitting here thinking like, I don't know what companies can do. I'm sitting here going, man, I don't know what policies can you add? What can you do to change and make this better other than the actual human being being better?
So let me tell you, when I was at my old role in Planned Parenthood, one thing we had was a policy equity wheel. And it was like, oh my God, I wish I could find it. Like, obviously I don't work there anymore, so I'm not going to be able to find it. But it was like a policy equity wheel. And it was basically like when you come up with a policy, think about the people that it will affect. So like, okay, so we're coming up. So say we're coming up with a policy around, I don't know, add more days of work, or I mean, you know, I'm making something up. You have to consider caregivers. You have to so you got to, that's a demographic of people you need to consider. So it's so it's making policies and really checking your back door to make sure that those policies are equitable for everyone, and that that it permeates through the organization equitably, so that you're not making policies that are going, you know, you making a policy that everybody got to walk outside. Well, what about the person in a wheel? You know what I mean? Like, or you making a policy about this, you know what I mean? So like, it's about policies that are policy equity. That's what it's about. It's about policy equity. I'm not even saying policy equality, because that's never going to happen. Policy equity, giving people what they actually need, giving people what they need to be successful. And so that was one way I looked at companies and corporations, where they can really be more deliberate about their equitability of their policies.
Isn't that what DEI is?
Well, see, that's another thing. It is supposed to be. That is what DEI is. But, you know, we got people saying these crazy things. We got people saying that plane crashes are because of DEI. So I don't know. I think policy equity is it. And you know who came up with that in my company where I used to work was DEI. They came up with a policy equity assessment, and it was for everybody. I thought it was such a really cool thing. Like, policy equity. Like, if more companies did that and were paying attention to that, how equitable and how their policies affect every group of people that work there, how different could people's work environments actually be?
Now that you say that, I like to look in research. I wonder what company is doing it right. Who is doing it right now? I
think we need to look at that and like actually, because I was going to say Target, but we can't shop there no more. I was going to say Target, but because they used to, you know, I was really surprised by Target. So I keep saying this, but I would have said Target's doing it right. If you would have said this to me, 3 months ago, I'd have been like, Target, that's just doing it right. I would have said it. No. But now nobody's doing it right because they scared. Everybody's scared that Donald Trump's going to come after their business. Like, he's going to target our business. So.
Except Costco. Costco said, you know
they
what?
They said, whatever. Flip there.
Our sales is going up.
Yeah, sales going up. I'm about to get my membership back, because now I can't shop at Target. I ain't even got a store.
Right.
Never did like Walmart, but now I'm like, okay, I don't even have Target anymore. So I gotta switch to Costco. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that maybe Costco is doing it right. Wegmans is another company who I think is doing it really right. Wegmans is a grocery store in the North. I don't know if you've ever heard of Wegmans. We have one here.
Right. We got one.
Okay, y'all got one. Okay. You're in North Carolina. Y'all have one?
Yeah. We got plenty.
Okay,
Plenty
y'all got
of
Wegmans.
Don't do that. Oh, y'all done grown up. Look at you. Y'all big. You ain't as country as I thought.
I said, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Y'all got a Wegmans.
Rate you on the stores you got. See, that's black people. That's why I love y'all.
Wait, you ain't got a Wegmans?
Y'all big city now.
Y'all got a Trader Joe's?
Yeah, we got Trader Joe's too.
Okay. So y'all doing big things. Now, I would say Trader Joe's, Wegmans, Costco, those are companies that I see that are like, no, we're doubling down on DEI. We don't care because we don't work for the government. So why do we take anything this idiot's saying seriously? Like, that's what I thought. I thought that more companies, but they're not authentic. That's the thing, is all of this DEI was performative, and a lot of it was for a lot of these companies. And this is what I say to them: what y'all gonna do when it becomes cool again? When y'all got to switch and it's back in style?
Yeah, right.
Now all your employees know that it was performative and you don't give a shit about them.
Right.
I mean,
you left me speechless, because I'm sitting there like, that's what it's a fad. We got to go with the fad because that means sales. So it's all about money at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, it's all about sales. And you don't think the Target got hit in their pockets because we won't shop there?
I think they lost like 15, I want to say million.
It's going to be more than that.
million
It's
in
going to be
one
more
day.
than that.
That was one day.
One day. Exactly. And we need to hold the line and not shop there. Hold the line. You better not go to Target. I better not see a Target bag.
And look, people were sending out them Instagram posts like, don't shop on this day. And I was like, well, do I need to order my Amazon products now before? So I just got my glasses today. I'm good to go.
But so, okay, that's the thing is, I don't know. Are we supposed to, is Prime also on the list?
It was Amazon. I know Amazon was the major one on the 28th, but I was like, dang it.
28th. Yeah, we ain't supposed to do no shopping on the 28th. Not even gas. So now I got to get my gas the day before. It was a lot of things that were like,
it was a
I
lot.
have to like live my life.
Did you ever seen that video? It was a meme or a GIF or something like that was on Instagram when social media supported Trump, and it was like, are you going to stop eating Chick-fil-A sandwiches? The little girl was under the table.
Now, I mean, Chick-fil-A, listen, first of all, Chick-fil-A is a fan favorite. People, I mean, it is one of them, like, I mean, my sister is LGBTQ plus, and she still eats it there. So I'm like, if you do it, then I'm doing it.
Right. So look, are we picking and choosing? Or are we sticking together
like,
again? What are we doing? So I mean, that just goes back to it. Like, I mean, our policies, are we following policies? Are we doing these? I don't know.
But what happens when we go back to when it goes? What happens? Because we know it will happen again. What happens when we have another George? What happens when we have another George Floyd incident? And it will happen because now that we got this emboldened nonsense.
Right. It's going to fold into something, and we're either going to celebrate it or make it. Somebody's going to become a martyr out of something that should not have happened. And we should have had some policy in place that would have stopped that stuff. But now we got to fight for justice. Who's going to care? Like, it's so much stuff going on right now. And it's supposed to be, you know why? This is all propaganda. This is all stuff that's kind of fighting against the grain so we can continue separation. But as long as we're confused, it's actually, I forgot who brought it up, but it is actually a tactic used to confuse society. It keeps us separated when you throw out so much information and knowledge or conflict that has us all going like, wait a minute, what's going on? I don't know which way to go, which way to turn. So, yeah.
I mean, I just, like I said, and I don't want this to ever happen, but I do know that we will have, and you do just like we will have another George Floyd incident because that's what we live in an environment where, I mean.
Yeah, unfortunately, right?
Unfortunately, we will have. And so what are they going to do when there's another, maybe it won't be George Floyd, but it will be a racial uprising of some sort because we've already dismantled DEI. Okay. So this moron's on a mission to do something. And so there will be another racial uprising. And when they get scared again that all the black people going to stop coming to work. Right.
When
they get scared, we going to quit.
And I want to try to group us together and say black people, Latinos, but that's where it gets separate because black people could stop going to work. But guess what? The Indians still going to be going, or East Indians or Hispanics will still be going if they're not deported. I swear that's the dumbest thing ever.
It's so crazy I can't even get on that situation because I did see I saw a TikTok and the lady was like, it was a Latino guy and he was kind of like, where I want to know is where is all these Black Lives Matter people? And the woman was like, we resting, big homie. She was like, we rested. She said, we resting, big homie. She
said you voted. And that's what's happening. We chilling.
She was like, what she said is, why don't you get with your people on why they needed that proximity to whiteness?
Yes. Oh, yeah, that was deep when she said that.
Yes. That proximity, that'll do it every time. And maybe that's why the code switching, see, here we go, bring it back. Maybe that's why with code switching and executive presence, it brings a proximity to whiteness. And that, to me, is not being authentic. That's what I was trying to say the whole time.
You know what's crazy is that, so all of us in all cultures are feeling like if we have to be white in order to get growth, to get acceleration.
Well, because that is the power structure.
Exactly. So think about this from Africans where they come over here. They're already taught not to mess with us. We're this. They're already taught to downplay different generations. Don't mess with Latinos, don't mess with blacks. Hang out with these people. These are the people who are going to get you hire into what you want to do in life, which is mostly Caucasian folks or anybody who has some type of connection to wealth or money, but it
Yeah.
won't be black people. Don't talk to black people. And
'Cause they
then
ain't got
we're
nothing.
also right, and we're looking at Africans the opposite way. So we're same color. We're like, nah, don't mess with them. Because yeah, it's just yeah, it's like wow, it's a lot. It's so much division, and all of this just comes back into the workplace.
It does.
Just
It does.
like that.
And I just want people to be able to go to work and be themselves. But we got our hot seat questions where you got to ask me. And
Yes.
so I'm going to ask you first.
Okay, let's go. You want to go back to back, or you want to go
Back to back. Like I'll do one, you do one.
Okay, cool.
All right. Have you ever been coached on how to adjust yourself at work?
So from a boss or from a mentor?
From a whoever.
Okay, so because I've actually I've had a personal situation with this, and I almost got pissed. So I had this guy.
And I know you did because you never cuss and you said pissed.
I don't. Yeah, they say I'm trying to do better with my life. I used to be a sailor. So I remember when, I got a different role. I was working at that company. I ain't gonna say the name.
Nope,
And
just leave
you know
it
how
out.
you're working with colleagues, right? And the colleagues get to be team leads and they move up the ladder. But they moved up the ladder in another spot. I moved up the ladder up here, but it wasn't controlling anything. It's just the fact that I had better access. It was a different role.
Yeah.
So I used to go visit everybody in the building, and they had a dress code like, you got to tuck your shirt in. And I was like,
Did you
no.
see my face?
Hey, but I would wear a sweater vest or I would wear a sports coat and I would have my shirt out. And he comes by because he's of authority and he was a white male. Hey, you need to tuck your shirt in. And I was like, I thought we were cool. Like, hey, he was like, tuck your shirt in. I was like, no. Who are you?
Said no.
I said, no, I'm not tucking my shirt in. And I said his name like, it's me. Like, it's me, baby. Like, you know me. But he was like, who's your manager? I'm going to tell him. I was like, I will give you my manager and everybody else. Who else do you need? I said, I don't work on this floor and you're not my boss. So I need to check you right now. And matter of fact, I'm going to wear my shirt out every time I see you.
So you were told to adjust yourself, so you bucked back.
I bucked back on the fact that you're not a boss of me. My
You're not a
boss
boss of
is
me.
okay with how I look. The dress code was tuck your shirt in, but it all meant dress nice. So I had on a button-up shirt, sweater vest, sport coat. My shirt was just out that day. It wasn't sloppy. I didn't look like a thug, but he wanted to have some authority over me to make me feel less than. And that's the piece that happened. I think that could have had a little bit of profiling behind it. I didn't take it as such. I just took it as, now I don't like you. That was something where I just did not. He tried to coach me on something like that, but it wasn't coaching. That was him just trying to get on me about policy and behavior and mandate something that wasn't his policy.
Yeah, that's not your place.
Yeah. Now, I've been coached on how to behave and how to show up authentically, which is a lot better for me. So that's from my mentors and sponsors. But let me ask you a question. Let's go. Okay. So what's a moment when you refused to code switch and what happened? I just answered that, right?
Yes, you just answered that. I was trying to think back in the day. Okay. I remember back early in my career, I worked in manufacturing. I'm going to give that example. And I remember I was pregnant with my son, who is 13 now. So I was pregnant. I was nice and pregnant too. And I had on like pants and I had on maternity clothes, you know what I mean, at work. And I remember a Black woman came to me and was like, you really should wear pantyhose. Now, pantyhose is such an old
And a
slip. Yes. A brassiere. And like my grandma would be like, put on your brassiere.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, okay. She was like, you really should wear pantyhose. And I was like, well, I don't wear them because right now I'm about 50 pounds heavier than I normally am. And I'm hot as hell. And I'm not doing that. So
Right.
that is not going to happen. She was like, well, that's actually, it's not a dress code, but you really should be. That's professional. I was like, who told you that is professional? That's some shit you made up.
Right.
Like, what? And I refused. I'm not, first of all, you know what made me really refuse? Because I was pregnant and I really wasn't doing nothing that was going to make me hot. So if you were going to try to make me hot, that was not happening. And I just said, no, I'm not doing it.
And that's just not having empathy for somebody's situation at the same time as well.
Right.
Like, why are they not wearing pantyhose? You got to think, like, come on now.
I'm like this.
Hey, You probably out on a different shirt. You're not wearing the tight clothes or anything that's
No,
fitting.
I
'Cause
was
you're
literally in
pregnant.
maternity clothes. Right.
Right. You're pregnant. She's like, oh, put on pantyhose.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
We got a wild card question, I guess, for both of us. If corporate America really wanted authenticity, what's the first thing they would have to change?
I don't know.
I have an idea.
Maybe. Well, you go ahead. Let me piggyback then, because I was sitting there. Everybody has to be colorblind in order for authenticity to work.
I think that, well, what I think is that there needs to be more business owners of different backgrounds owning or CEOs of large corporations. You need culture to drip in for it to be, for authenticity to be widely adopted. So like, I think that culture introduction and culture, what is it called? Awareness of competence is a way that the shift in that, I think, could help with authenticity. What do you think?
Question is, how long would that take to catch for the record?
Oh, yeah, I mean, we won't be alive.
Maybe my daughter might see it, because I'm like, yeah, we won't catch on. That's going to take a long time to catch on. But
yes,
yeah, I agree. No, I agree. I think that's something that's very important to think about. And all leaders have to have that same concept. And for me, I think it is, if I really want to get granular, it's being very particular about the leaders that you want in your company. Because if we're hiring people and we got this supremacist mindset, and it doesn't have to be white, it could be in any
it's
type
just
of
whatever
area.
supremacy, right? Like whatever it is. And it doesn't, whatever is dominating is what it's like, right? And so whatever supremacy it is, no one should have that.
Right. And I think that's hard for a lot of people to accept, is having a company and feeling like you're equal. And that comes from the leadership saying, hey, I am with you on everything. I can see that. And I always talk about that. I tell some of my leaders, it is important for you to understand the bottom all the way to the top, because now you're going to have people down here to know they can trust you as a leader to get them, and they're going to understand their job, and it motivates them to be the best. Ultimately, when you think about all this and having somebody be authentic, that leader has to believe in that, has to push that, have to speak over it. The HR, like, you have to get your teams involved in what authenticity is.
Yeah.
If we don't have it, like you said, that's a lot of companies out here that probably are thinking about, I'm just worried about the bottom line. I'm worried about the dollar. I'm worried about the sales.
Yeah.
And they could have the mindset of thinking about that, but what happens is the money comes and takes over, and that's in the back.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Yeah. Let me add this one last tip, whatever, statistic.
Trick or
This
tip?
is all of it. Tip,
All of
trick,
it.
information. Yeah. So, I'm bringing up statistics about how code switching percentage-wise helps African Americans. It helps anybody who wants to code switch to what is the professional norm. But at the end of the day, like this says right here, like it says African Americans who effectively code switch earn an average of 20% more than those who don't. But here's the last point it made. It says, however, studies have shown that constant code switching can lead to increased stress levels and decreased job satisfaction.
So yeah, exactly. Now I'm gonna go to work and have a stroke. Absolutely not.
At the end of the day, if you're at a job where you can't be yourself, you're eventually going to die.
Well, it affects your health.
Exactly. It's going to affect your health, your family. It's going to affect your life, your kids. Yeah.
No.
So, this proves that it's important to have it, but it's also important to be your best self.
And I think that's the takeaway.
That's it. That's the takeaway.
That's the takeaway.
Right.
All right.
So,
well, I think we're at the end.
This was good.
This was good. This is really good. We're at the end. We have another episode coming up, and we are going to be, let me see where we're at. What we're going to be digging into. Next is mentorship versus sponsorship versus advocacy.
That was a good one.
That is going to be
That'll
next.
Be fun.
That'll be a good one. And I'm excited about it. I just talked about, it's funny. One of my episodes coming out on Queens Behind the Scenes is actually with my executive coach, Lisa L. Baker. And we're talking about sponsorship and mentorship and advocacy. So we're talking about that too. So it's going to be good to do a deeper dive on it on our show, because I just touch it on there a little bit, but we can talk about it and dive deep. So I think that's a good topic.
Good. So this is good. I guess if we're wrapping up, If you found today's conversation valuable, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Trust me, corporately speaking is about to take over. I think we're getting some traction here. So I like talking about it. I love when people have bad comments and good comments. But either way, this is here for you all, folks. So follow us on social media. Well, we're on our personal social medias right now. So you can go to Career Transformation Academy. That's it on every platform. You can go to Queens Behind the Scenes. I think you are QTBS 2025 on TikTok. And then corporately, it is Queens Behind the Scene is Queens _.
Yes, by
underscore the underscore scene. And then you have Queen Behind the Scene. Just find me.
And you'll find me.
And I help you find her. But you can
me.
always you can go on YouTube right now and look at Corporately Speaking. We're here for you. I'm glad everybody's here to pay attention and watch this. Charise, you did an amazing job. This is an awesome discussion. I'm loving this.
I love it too.
Good.
Thank you guys for joining us today.
This is my favorite. Peace. All right, folks.
Break at the ball.